This is Mentally Dope. Join us, Charmaine and Jasmine, two Black licensed therapists, as we build a bridge between mental health and Black culture. Come on, it's gonna be dope.
Hey guys, it's Mentally Dope. Stay mentally dope time. I'm Charmaine.
This is Jasmine. This is me.
That's Jasmine. Oh Lord. Okay, so y'all, we are in this. If you have been watching with me and Jasmine, we have been like dissecting these friendship series of trying to figure out what friendships look like, how they show up, what works for us, what doesn't work for us, like all things friendship. And like we have said before in previous videos, is that we're still trying to figure some of this out ourselves because we don't really be knowing. So like we give what we think, we give our insight on it, but we would love to hear you guys' insight and thoughts as well. So we actually had someone reach out to us and they asked this particular question, and we want to kind of like bring that up as well as other things surrounding it.
Shout out to our viewers. Also, if you're not following us on Instagram,
What are you doing?
Why are you not? Stay Mentally Dope on Instagram. We're on the Facebooks. We're on the TikToks. And of course, we're on the YouTubes and Apple Podcasts. But like, come on. Let us know that you love us. How are we supposed to know if you don't tell us?
Love us.
Anyway.
We love. So there was a question and a viewer asked. She says that her friend had a male best friend and that she introduced her to her. The friend had a male best friend. So then the friend introduced her other friend to her male best friend. Yes. And then those two became a couple. But now this friend is like, I want us just to be a couple and I need her to stop butting in to our friendship.
Because the friend who introduced them wants to be friends with everybody. So like when
she wants them to like, hang out
and time and stuff like that, she's just trying to insert herself. And I guess the other friend is like,
we need boundaries.
Private. Right. What do I do here?
Yeah. So like that's going to be a question. And then we also kind of sort of want to get into like, what do boundaries look like as friendship dynamics change? Because that is a big aspect of friendship, is that if we're friends for any amount of time, dynamics will change, whether it's boyfriends or relationships, whether it's kids, like whatever, like our dynamics will change. And how do we navigate that? How do we implement boundaries? How do we communicate these things? All right, boom.
Friends.
How many of us have them?
Yes. Okay. So I don't know. You want to answer the viewer question first? Do you want to go into something else?
The hard thing about that, I think this is something that I know we have discussed before in our previous videos, but one of the biggest things that I think that comes up in most of these things is vulnerable conversations and authentic conversations, which sounds easy, but to be honest, it's hard for a lot of us to have authentic and vulnerable conversations because there's so much attached to that. Like, we've discussed this, that it is hard sometimes to be honest about our feelings and be honest about things that we want because the friendship is potentially at stake, or it feels like that the friendship is at stake if I express my feelings or my needs.
And it's just hard to do.
Yeah. So in this situation, you have a girl who's like, I have a friend who I love. I understand that she has a friend who is now my boyfriend that I love, but I want to be able to tell her, I just want to spend time with my boyfriend and not time with all three of us. And that's
all
difficult.
The time. Yeah.
And that's difficult. But I'm not really sure if there's any way to navigate around that other than just having the conversation. Because like eggshelling around it or like throwing out hints of like, maybe you should do this. Yes. Maybe you should go do this. Do you got a man? Like, trying to find those other things. Like, all that does is be passive aggressive, and all that does is create resentment. And then I hate the feeling that sometimes we have this whole assumption of like, well, people should know. And it's like, no, I mean, like, people know when we tell them.
Exactly. Nobody is a mind reader. And, I think friendships have this like weird fallacy thing around them about like, they're just supposed to be easy. If they're not easy, then, it's just not meant to be. And like friendships are relationships like any other type of relationships. They take work, they take intention, they take communication. Yeah. They take all of these things. So maybe the question is, how do I say that without
Yeah.
hurting somebody's feelings?
But here's the hard part too, is that I think that that's twofold. For one, being honest with yourself about what it is that you want so that you can effectively communicate that. So if I can effectively...
Sit and have a talk with yourself first.
Because for one, you do want your feelings to be able to come out and not as an attack. You always here. You getting on my nerves. You're like all those things, because then all I'm doing is
not invited.
Yes, because then in those times, all I am doing is attacking you, and that is hurtful.
And it's from a place of frustration.
Yes.
And when you share your emotions out of a place of frustration or anger, when you have not sifted through those emotions, right, it comes off in a way that you don't want it to come off.
Yes.
You know, it's your intention is invisible to how you said it versus what you were saying.
100%. I like that. But I think that is so it's that. So, but I think that we have established that intention and impact are not the same thing. So even if I have the purest intention, the impact still may be felt a different way. Plus, you also have to filter out that this person may have things going on. That does not mean that we don't say it, though. We have to deal with, but we do have to deal with the fact that it may not be a one and done. I may not be able just to come say to you and be like, "Hey, this really hurts my feelings, and I don't want us to be there." This may not be a one and done conversation.
Yeah, but I also think that mostly it never is. I think people are just like, well, I told them. They already know. But some boundaries are a thing that you have to keep talking about. You will always continue to talk about it, right? Because boundaries also change. They're meant to protect people. And the things that you need to protect you in one season of your life might change in a different season of your life.
Yeah.
So, like, something that was okay before might not be okay anymore, or vice versa, right?
And I think that also a hard thing too that I deal with a lot of people, and I deal with myself, and I deal with other situations, is that when people say stuff like, "Well, I've said the same thing over and over again, and it's not being like and nothing's changing." Well, then they didn't get it. That's it.
There's something wrong, and it may not just be that you keep saying it. Like, it could be the delivery. It could be that you guys are not collaborating on how to solve the problem. Because 100%. I think part of it, instead of just being like, I don't like that you did this, you can be like, I need this to look different.
Yeah.
But that also requires you sitting with yourself and being like, what do I want this to look like?
Yeah.
How do I ask for that?
That as well, which is very, very uncomfortable. And that requires a lot of work, because I think that our initial reaction is always just, well, not always, but a lot of times it is just frustration. I'm frustrated with the current situation. You're doing this, you're showing up when me and him are trying to hang out, and this is irritating me. And that's not really owning your feelings or saying like what you want it to look like. That's just you lashing out of frustration and not being able to have these conversations the way that they could be open and effectively. I would also be really curious too as to how the boyfriend feels. Is he in agreement? And how that is showing up as well too.
That's a good point. Is he feeling the same? Is it only just meant like that from her? And I think there was a feeling of, I don't want to look like I'm jealous.
Which also sounds more like a personal feeling.
Like maybe there's something internal going on there of just like, oh, I don't want to be perceived this way or something like that. And it doesn't sound like it's really about that. Like, you're allowed to have private time
100%.
with the people you love. You're allowed to have private time with the friend who's different than the friend that's in the friend group, if that makes sense. Right? Like, it's just how it goes. You're allowed to have private time without anybody.
Yeah, 100%.
All of these things.
I think that's a big thing too. I admit that too, that sometimes that's hard to own. That I've had to like work on that, on like my family members or my friends of being like, no, I actually just want to hang out with you. That's it. Like, not the whole family, just you. And I think that like that was uncomfortable for me for a while, just to be able to say that, to be like, no, leave the kids at home. I just want mama. That's it.
I was gonna say, even in your nuclear family, just because like you live together, you interact with people on a regular basis, doesn't mean you're spending quality time with people, and that also is okay for you to ask for that.
Yeah,
that's it. So how would you say that if that was you?
So I think that is the hard thing about, like, I would try to like you said, write down and own my feelings. So whether that is
journal about it.
Yeah, I feel overwhelmed sometimes, or I was like really looking forward to having this relationship. I enjoy spending time with him, and sometimes I want to just be able to have these experiences with just me and him. I also emphasize the fact that maybe you will also want to have time with just your friend. Like, hey, I want us to have just me and you.
He don't have to be involved.
Yeah, I want us just to have me and you girl time. And sometimes, like, or even say that, hey, sometimes I want those to be separate, because sometimes there is become a blurred line sometimes. I remember one of my friends telling me that. She was like, no, Charmaine, I need to actually just have best friend time with just you. Because, like, when things get blurred, now we're talking about, like, other stuff and boyfriend stuff and business stuff, because it's...
Or couple time.
Yeah, because now we can't have the talks that I just want to have with just you. So, like, also emphasizing that, too, of, like, girl, I miss me and you time. And he may miss you and him time.
Yeah.
Or also admit, too, if that bothers you now, then now I know that the you and him time used to be about his girlfriends, but now it's me. I'm the girlfriend. So I feel a little uncomfortable with that. Like, I mean, like, be honest about it.
Or, like, maybe you are a little bit jealous, and, like, it's not wrong, right? To just be like, this is my person, and then I see my person hanging out with my other person. I don't want that to happen, or I feel jealous about it, or, like, even if it feels petty, I think it's okay to say.
Yeah, because I think, but like I said, I think, like, we need those boundaries sometimes. I like, just like thinking about that, like saying it out loud, there is like a little bit of a cringe for me, because I'm not sure I would be okay with that. Like, I like my friends liking my husband, and I do like that. But the idea of, like, y'all two hanging out without me on a regular basis, I think I'd be the one who'd be like, I don't think I like this, because I need to be able to confide in you. I need to be able to confide in you, and I don't need y'all talk about me. Like how about we don't?
Yeah, but I think part of it too is everybody also needs to know that, because if we communicate about how that's impacting people will be intentional about their communication of just like, oh, I saw so and so and we just went to do that, versus like, oh, I don't know, she had a big reaction last time, let's not tell her, and then it turns into something else.
100%.
Versus being like, oh, let's be honest, like, we don't have to make this an issue between us. Like, I will be it's not like tiptoeing, but just like when you know that something upsets someone, you will take care of it in a different way. Versus if you care, versus just being like, oh, whatever, like, she shouldn't be mad about it anyway, right? Then you're just doing whatever you want with somebody's feelings versus doing it on purpose, you know?
Yeah. Which I think it also takes, like, that's what goes into, like, when you have an intention, and when you've been friends with somebody, and when you know somebody and you care about them, and you care and they care about you, I think that it's easier to actually, like, know their intentions and know, like, I have people that I genuinely love having people who are close to me, that even when stuff happens or doesn't feel right, I know in my heart that it was not like a malice thing. Even if it feels wrong, even if I'm like, hey, she did that and that was really messed up, I can know in my heart that I don't think Jasmine was like, trying to hurt me. So, like, I think that, like, that eases it a little bit
that
too.
makes it a little bit softer. You don't have to show up as hard in those situations. You can still be vulnerable with people. Yeah. Because that requires softness. Yeah. You cannot be hard and vulnerable at the same time. Yeah. You can't be a thug and
gang banging on bacon. It does not work.
You can't do it. You can't do both. You got to lay down the thug flag and be vulnerable. You pick it up later.
Get down or lay down. But, okay, so that also brings up, so, like, that's what we said, talking about boundaries, because relationships do change. Like, even in this situation, like, shout out to love. I'm not even sure if y'all are Black love or who y'all are, but shout out to love in general. Like, let's just say that this, like, grows into, like, them getting married and things of that nature.
Shout out to Black.
I'm just saying.
I don't know where you was going with it.
But I'm just saying, like, like if they got married, if they, like, all of these things, this is only going to continue to grow. And then we're risking friendships that didn't have to be risked, because you weren't this person in your wedding, and you weren't this person as the auntie for your kids, and all this, like, amazing things, and we don't really want to jeopardize that by not having a needed conversation about our feelings.
And that people were not flexible enough to find a way to fit into this new role, because it is new. Yeah, and it's going to be new.
But I think that is the hard thing too about boundaries, and I'm not sure if we have said this before, but if not, let's say it again, that boundaries are always going to be uncomfortable for the person who you are enforcing the boundary for, because it's a new boundary. Maybe. Well, I mean, it's going to be a new boundary, so I have to adjust to that. Like, if you tell me right now, Charmaine, I don't want you to call me anymore on Fridays, okay, like, I have to respect your boundary, but I also have to, like, remember every Friday I can't call you anymore. It's an adjustment for me.
That ain't gonna work for me, because I'll forget.
I'm just saying. but I'm saying, like, for me, like, that is an adjustment for me. And also, I can also tell you if that hurts my feelings, because, like, what happens if me and you hung out every Friday? So out of nowhere, you send me a text that says,
You say, don't even call.
yes. So out
don't
of
even wanna
nowhere,
see
you send me a text that says, I don't want to hang out on Fridays. It doesn't make me toxic for having questions. People will get mad at it and like, they're questioning my boundaries. No, they're questioning them because the boundary affects them.
Yeah, and also they want to understand. Not every situation is appropriate for someone to have to understand your boundaries, right?
100%.
That's not always the situation.
If I don't want to go, I don't want to go.
Yeah. But also, if you're in a relationship and things change, the people who love you want to know what has changed.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing to help give people some insight on what's changed with you, right? Because they want to know what's going on.
And also that can actually help to rectify the situation in the past. So if every single time I call you and ask you, do you want to go out? You're like, I don't want to go. And you hang up without giving me an explanation. And then I keep calling and you're like, she's not respecting me. No, I didn't know that you never wanted to go out.
Exactly.
I didn't know
I thought you didn't want to go out that one time.
Yeah.
Or I didn't know that you were trying to stop going out and change your life around.
Yeah. Communicate that you don't want to drink anymore. Communicate that you're saving money. Tell me those things. That way I can respect the boundary. But when you give me a half, passive aggressive boundary, if it's like, respect this, I said no. Okay.
Yeah, she was just in a mood today, so she just told me no. So I'll try again later, I guess, right? Because I don't have any more context. Yes. I don't have any other reason. And when you are in relationship with people, that also requires you to kind of be up close with them. I call it polishing sometimes, right? You're brushing up against people. You're polishing yourself. You're changing, for a lack of a better term, in a good way. But you learn each other. You figure out how to do it. Yeah. And that also means people have to know something about you.
I think that this goes back to I think that you brought up a really, really good thing. It's about learning people, but also that's what we said too about when friendships change, because the person that I learned last year may not be the same person that you are this year, which is okay. But now I have to relearn this person. And sometimes, I've had this talk before, we can't hold on to the old person, but I also can't meet the new person until you let me.
Both are true.
So if I'm still holding on, thinking that you're still the same girl that I met 5 years ago, okay, yeah, part of that is on me, but also part of that is on you, because have you told me about the new person that you're trying to be? Have you introduced me to her?
Yeah, it's on both of us.
Yeah, which goes back to communication.
It's on both of us.
And feeling open to be communication. Because that's the thing too. I have to feel safe enough. If I want to come and tell you, hey girl, I'm trying to save money, and you be like, no, you're not. Okay, well, never mind.
Or you're gonna harass me over and over again to get me to change my mind about the thing.
Or make fun of me.
Or talk about me. All the stuff.
Yeah, she said she was changing, but I guarantee you she gonna call him when she get in the car. Okay.
Exactly. It's not supportive. And then, it's another thing to communicate about. I don't feel supported.
But then that's the hard part, because we normally don't do that. We just go into protection mode, which means I'm not talking to you.
I hope they work it out. I hope that you can communicate out of it or into it or whatever.
Yeah. But I think that's the thing that, and you guys, once again, tell us how you feel about this. But that seems like that for everything. When relationships change, whether it's, someone just had kids, which, that's going to be a thing. Especially, for us, being younger and stuff like that. And then,
are we young? Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. I thought I'm Joy Cole. I'm in between two generations. I'm little bro and big ball at once.
I'm so young.
So, I'm little sis, I'm big sis, all at the same time.
Right.
But I feel that when one friend has a kid, they change into a whole different person. Their needs change, their dynamics change. When one person gets married, those things change. One person gets a job, they change.
Or move.
Yes.
Or get sober.
Yeah.
All the things.
And then we have to
go to therapy.
Get the right to God. All of that. We have to be able to navigate how our friendships change, and then also acknowledge that your change requires your friends to change too. And it's not really so much about getting mad at them. It's communicating. If it makes you uncomfortable that I have a drink every time we go out because you're not drinking, let me know. And if I love you enough, then I'm going to drink somewhere else. And I'm going to stop drinking in front of you. But that's...
Exactly.
But not getting upset about that. But
exactly.
But communicating that.
Yeah, not expecting someone to know. Because I think part of it is like, well, I've been trying to get sober. I just went to rehab. So you should know this.
But I also don't know that you can't handle being around other people who are doing it either. I can't know until you tell me.
I don't know that's going to knock you off your game,
Yeah.
first of all. And I also don't know what works for you. Because there are plenty of sober people who can go into a bar and like not have a drink, right? There are plenty of sober people who can be around something and not have a hard time with it. And there are plenty of other sober people who can't, right? Everything is specific to you.
But I think I think that like also too, accepting the fact that like we said that our changes do affect the other people. Because what if I was your only margarita buddy, like that me and you went out every Thursday for margaritas. Well, now I gotta go find somebody else to have margaritas with on Thursday, and you can't really get mad at me because I still like to do that. But just because you don't, that's make me a bad friend. I still gotta find somebody else to hang out with.
Oh, but then you're saying something else. You're saying, what do I do if a person in the relationship changes and expects the other person to change as well?
Yeah.
Or to change in the same way as them.
But to me, I think that's not fair. And I've been that friend. I've been that friend who wanted to stop doing something and then was like, oh, wait, so y'all ain't stopping with me?
We all stopping. I said.
And it's like, no, they're not. It's like, but to me that it was a very selfish thing of me to think that, okay, just because I'm not doing this or I don't want to do this anymore, that nobody else should want to do that. That's not fair.
And it's unrealistic expectations, right? Like it's a recipe for the friendship to not continue to work out because you're forcing someone to do something or change themselves or be someone else
or making
that they
fun
didn't
of
want
them
to
and
be.
shunning them. You're like, I know she still be able to doing that just because I've changed now, and that's not fair.
But you was with me last week, so what are we really doing?
Oh, but I've changed now.
Well, I've given my life to the Lord, so it's different. But that was literally just last week.
But everybody who still does what I was doing last week, they're all bad. So
you was
like,
bad last week and you're good this week.
So that includes you. And I'm gonna make fun of you every time I see you do it because I just want you to know that what you're doing is bad. Because what I really want you to do is come over here with me because that's what I need. But I can't really say that, so I'm just gonna make fun of you until you stop doing it.
Yeah.
And how'd that work out?
But what about that friend that in general you and that person are not toxic people, but when you get together with this friend and they get together with you, it becomes like a toxic thing?
Ooh. I could see that. I have moments where there are certain things that I still struggle with, and I know that being around certain people only brings that out of me more. Out of me more. Yeah.
I think that's an internal boundary too, of just be like, I don't want to be this person, and if me being close to you brings out me being this person, then maybe we don't need to. It doesn't need to look like this.
Yeah.
And that's my personal boundary. It's not for you. You show up however you need to show up. I'm just not going to do that anymore this way or whatever.
But then that's why I said too, also dealing with that, because for me there was also, I didn't think about this, but there was also a level of like FOMO for me for having like friends who like when they hung out, and I can be candid, but I don't like sitting around talking about people. That's not really my thing. But I'm not going to lie to you. If you give me some gossip, sometimes I can fall down that hill real quick because somebody will say something. I'm just like, what? and then here we go.
I got questions.
Yes.
I'm not even trying to get into it.
So
but
I'm like, I don't want to do
that
that
to me.
Yes. So I don't even
understand.
want to do that. I want to stay in my little bubble where I don't know what she did and what he did. I don't want to know anything about it. But knowing that this group of people still meets up and hangs out and goes and have dinner and all those things, I'm just not going because I don't want to hear it. But also be like, okay, well, I guess I'm not going there. And that was a little bit of an adjustment. Like, okay, so I'm not getting to go have tacos with y'all, but
you really want some tacos and margaritas, don't you?
But okay. And then having to accept that was my boundary, and okay.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
But it's internal, right? You have to have that talk with yourself and be like, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm not going to do, so that you can tell other people about it. Yeah. That's really it.
And I think that also communicating when you don't fully understand stuff as well too, because we're talking about like when things happen. Like what about when things happen that don't feel like a specific change? Like when you have kids and you don't really know what's going to happen when you have kids, or you get married and you don't really know how your life is going to change when you get married. So then you're like going back and forth with your friends. I'm like, I didn't like to really make this choice, but I feel like I shouldn't be going no more. Like I feel like I shouldn't do these things anymore. Like, so it's like also like that.
You just communicate about it, right?
That gray area of I'm figuring it out, y'all.
Exactly. I need grace. I thought that I was going to get 3 of my kids in the car and that we was going to be somewhere in 30 minutes, and that really didn't happen, and then we're just not going to make it at all.
That is
you know what
one.
I'm saying? Like, communicate.
That is definitely one as being a friend who does not have children, learning to adjust to my friends who have children that time, and I've always been, that's actually my boundary. I don't know what that is. I have like some weird issues when it comes to time. If we're supposed to be somewhere on time, like listen, I will get irritated. It I've been working on it, but like, yes, adjusting to people and my friends who have kids of like, time may not be a thing anymore, or at least not when the kids are involved.
It's just not possible. We just can't. How you going to help somebody got a meltdown? Somebody had a blowout. Somebody had all this stuff.
Yeah, you
can't find somebody.
With no sock. Like, okay, it's cool.
Right.
So I have adjusted to the most part for certain things like that. But like, yeah, but that's why I said too. Like, you recognize when you're changing, but also recognize how your change affects somebody else. Because I can understand what you're going through. I can fully understand that, but I need you to also understand that I've been sitting here for 30 minutes. So
both are true.
Yeah.
And that we need to figure out how to solve it together.
And not lash out.
Yes. Because it's not just a matter of, I don't like this doesn't work for me. What if you don't like something, it doesn't work for you, and your friend doesn't know what to do and you don't know what to do? Then it's going to keep looking like that until y'all figure out, what can we do?
But that's why I said too, I think that's how conflicts continue to repeat because they've never been solved.
It's the whole Gottman thing, right? Like, what's solvable, what's unsolvable, right? We need to figure out what it is. If some things cannot be changed, sometimes that means maybe no friendship.
But I think that also sometimes there are certain times where we just did not get to the root of the situation. I remember, and I still use this like metaphor or whatever with my clients. I remember I was told by a trainer that I leave a lot of meat on the chicken bone sometimes in therapy sessions. That we
was like, what?
Yes, that you have to get all the meat off the bone in that conversation before we're done. And I do that a lot with clients and couples and everything.
Black.
Yes, that we're going to sit here and we're going to continue to go back and forth until we know that I fully understand you and you fully understand me. Because if we don't, guess what? We didn't finish. So here we are.
We'll come back to it again.
Unfortunately.
Maybe. But I also think like that's part of being in relationships. Like, we're going to talk about things. We're going to come back around to it. We're going to talk about it again. We're going to live life. We're going to mess it up. We're going to come back around and see like, this didn't work. This did work. Okay, this did work, but it doesn't work now because this is what's happening. So we come back around and we do it again. And like, it's just kind of part of it.
Yeah. But I mean, like, if like a situation has like hurt your feelings or bothered you and like we didn't get to the root of it, yeah, it's going to continue to keep coming back up because like we didn't get to the root of it then. So I don't know, y'all. Boundaries, friendships. What do we do when things change in the friendship, and how do you guys navigate that?
Yeah, and if you've been in like one of these situations where something changed, you didn't know what to do, or maybe like you felt like you did the right thing, and your friend was like,
"You did
not having it."
Yeah. So yeah, curious to know like what you guys do. How do you guys navigate friendships? What do boundaries look like? And
if you want more on boundaries, let us know because we love talking about boundaries
and friendship changes and all that good stuff. So as always, like, subscribe, comment, hit the little bell, get notified when we have new videos. And
come find us. Look at our old friendship videos. Which one was? I don't even know what our last one was. Probably like
the parents and friendships.
Parents and friendships.
That
was a good one. Yeah. Go back and look at that. I'll link it in the bio somewhere or whatever. Okay. But otherwise, y'all, stay mentally dope. Drink your water. Go to therapy. Do the stuff.
Yes.
We'll talk
stay hydrated.
Bye.